Hola alumnos, ahora estudiamos los verbos ER e IR. La información para esta lección está en las páginas 70 y 71. When we are discussing ER and IR verbs, it's important to keep in mind that these verbs are treated similarly as AR verbs. Remember, en español tenemos los infinitivos. Los infinitivos, or our infinitives, are verbs before they are conjugated, meaning these are our verbs before they have been changed. Therefore, we need to make sure that when we want to conjugate these verbs, when we want to change their endings, we need to take off the infinitive ending, either the AR, ER, or IR, and add a personal ending, reflecting the person in which we are saying is doing this action. So with ER and IR verbs, our endings are a little different than AR. For ER verbs, in the yo form, the personal ending is O. In the tu form, the personal ending is es. Es, es. In the él, ella, usted form, the personal ending is e. Nosotros, hemos. Vosotros, ellos. Ellos, ellas, ustedes, en. In the forms for our IR verbs, the yo form, we have o. Tú, es. Él, ella, usted, e. Nosotros, imos. Vosotros, is. Ellos, ellas, ustedes, en. When we compare the two, notice that there is a difference between the ER and the IR verbs in the nosotros form and the vosotros form. Where for ER verbs in the nosotros form we have hemos, for the nosotros form with IR verbs we have imos. In the vosotros form for ER verbs we have eis, and for the vosotros form for IR verbs we have is. However, all other forms are the same. So the yo form for both of them we have o, tú, es, él, ella, usted, e, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, en. So that's just looking at the two of them and comparing the personal endings for these verbs. Just as our AR verbs with regular ER and IR verbs in the present tense, all we are going to do is remove that infinitive ending, ER or IR, and add the appropriate personal ending. If you notice, on pages 70 and 71, we have a list of new verbs. These verbs are ER and IR verbs and follow the rules that we have just studied. So let's take a look at these. To say to open en español, decimos abrir. To learn, aprender. To attend, asistir a. To drink, beber. To understand, comprender. To believe, creer. Ought to or must, deber. To write, escribir. To read, leer. To receive, recibir. To sell, vender. To live, vivir. Now, there are two things that I would like to point out. First of all, with the verb asistir a, when we are referring to attend, it's important to note that we need to make sure we use that preposition a when we are saying asistir. When we want to say to attend, we need to say asistir a. So you're going to conjugate the verb asistir appropriately based on the person whom you're saying is doing the action. But you need to make sure you include the preposition a. They just go together. So asistir a. Additionally, take a look at the verb deber. In the book, it says deber means ought to or must. We see this frequently in English when we want to say should. So if we want to say I should do my homework, we are going to use a conjugation of the verb deber. In that instance, it would be debo because we are conjugating it in the yo form. So this is a very short list of some new verbs, ER and IR verbs. They do have their own rules, but they behave in a similar fashion as AR verbs. Just take off the infinitive ending and add the appropriate personal ending. So practice using these ER and IR verbs, and until next time, nos vemos.